Hello, my name is Ron Busby Sr., and I'm the president and CEO of the U.S. Black Chambers, Inc. Over the years, I've been honored with the title Black America CEO, and it made me realize something very powerful. We need to tell our own stories. That's why we created Black America CEO, an original series by the U.S. Black Chambers Media, where we spotlight the journeys of some of the greatest CEOs in the country, entrepreneurs, thought leaders, and polarizing figures shaping America today. In every episode, we dive deep into their stories, their victories, as well as the challenges, the lessons learned, and deliver masterclasses from the very leaders who are redefining business and culture. This is more than just about success. It's about legacy. It's about leadership, and most importantly, it's about empowerment. Welcome to Black America's CEO, where we interview America's Black CEOs. Today, it's my honor to introduce you to a true example of Black brilliance, Jimmy Williams Jr., a former Navy pilot who took the discipline, leadership, and vision he learned in the military and turned it into a business empire. He's truly a modern-day Calvin, starting from working at his local McDonald's near his childhood home, and today owning and operating more than 25 McDonald's franchises across the country. Jimmy is building wealth, creating jobs, and inspiring the next generation of Black entrepreneurs. His story, Flight Plan to Fortune, the journey from Navy pilot to franchise mogul, is a testament to what's possible when purpose meets opportunity. I hope his incredible journey motivates you as much as it inspires us all. Here's our host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Ed Gordon.
I met Jimmy Williams in his hometown of East St. Louis, Illinois, in front of his childhood home, the place, as you'll soon find out, that cultivated his dreams, that grew his spirit, and nurtured a young boy, allowing him to have a distinguished military career and become one of America's great CEOs. I want to talk to you a little bit about your life. You know, I always say that no matter where you go in the world, you are, to a great degree, where you were born and raised. Talk to me about your upbringing and how that has impacted your success.
That's a great question. First, let me say this. Thank you very much for coming to St. Louis. Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's big in so many different ways, and I've got to say this. I won the lottery early in life. I won the lottery being born in East St. Louis, Illinois. My father was from Maysville, Kentucky. My mother from Delo, Mississippi, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. They met at Wilberforce University. My grandparents moved to East St. Louis, Illinois. My father married my mother, and they moved to East St. Louis, Illinois as well. Through that union, 5 kids. And around the kitchen table, we would have such amazing conversations. My father was involved in everything, was a Sunday school teacher, and people from all around the community would come to listen to him on Sunday mornings. I became the mayor of the city. My mother taught for 45 years in District 189, East St. Louis, Illinois. I won the lottery being born in East St. Louis and having the parents that I had. I won the lottery because they introduced me to Ben Davis. And I have to say it the proper way, Dr. Ben Davis. You couldn't read, if you couldn't write, you couldn't work for him. You had to study. And my father marched me down to talk to him. I won the lottery being introduced to James Luckett, who was a Little League football coach in East St. Louis, Illinois. I talked to Ray Coleman, who was the quarterback on that team, when I gave a presentation a couple of weeks ago. And we smiled, and we looked back at those times, and we said to ourselves how special they were. The mental attitude both of us have because of the experience with James Luckett. I won the lottery because my father would have so many men, African-American men coming by the house. Mr. McIntosh, who owned the dry cleaners. I talked to you earlier about the Officer family. Marion Officer would drop by. Clyde Jordan would drop by. So many men in East St. Louis would drop by. Chappie James, who was the vice commander at Scott Air Force Base, 4-star general, would drop by our house. I won the lottery being born in East St. Louis. That led me to college. It led me to becoming an officer in the United States Navy, a helicopter pilot in the United States Navy, all because of those relationships. I had mentors, I had sponsors, and I didn't have to look too far from the kitchen table, but it was extended because I met so many others who had an impact on my life. And so my formative years were amazing because of that, because of the individuals I met and because of family.
Let me ask you about the environment of East St. Louis. You grew up there in a time where you started to see the shift in the city. I grew up in the Detroit area, and in Detroit, the same thing. It went from a vibrant, growing city to one that started to decline, and then the push to bring it back. Give me a sense of what that taught you.
When my father was mayor, we had 79,000 people in our city. Black and white, coming out of the 60s, the civil rights movement. My father was the 19th African-American mayor in the nation. During that time, because of so many different issues, East St. Louis went on the decline in a significant way. I think we were City of the Year in 1960. By the time my father was mayor in the early 70s, you're right, the decline had started, and a significant decline had started. I often say to my friends that if business is not percolating, if you're not turning over those dollars 6 or 7 times, it gets to be very difficult for a community to survive. And East St. Louis had that problem. The Ville in St. Louis had that problem. Certainly we can go back to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other areas around the country that had that problem for a variety of reasons, but had that problem. So the decline of our major cities, of our urban cores, very significant. And we were a part of it in East St. Louis, Illinois.
There's a certain grit that comes from that, isn't there?
There is.
Yeah.
So the mental attitude you need, what was talked about around the kitchen table, and you know what African-American men would always say, you gotta be twice as good. You gotta work hard. My mother would say, you gotta catch the early bus. All those things extremely important, and they help me, and I try to transfer those things to my family because I know it's extremely important that they know what it takes to be successful out here.
One of the things I found interesting in reading about you, and I had family, an uncle in the military who retired in the military. There is you being 9 years in the Navy, 2,000 flight hours, there's a certain mentality that is taught in the military, and there is a certain dedication that I see that transfers to whatever you do. Was that the case for you as you transitioned into business?
Absolutely. And let me talk about that for a second. I think extremely important. The persistence, the grit that you need to make it in life was instilled in me early on. As I told you about those early conversations with my father around the kitchen table, and all the men and women that I would meet in East St. Louis, they instilled that in me. And so when I got to the Navy, you know what? I had an advantage. I had an advantage because of the individuals who put so much into me. And so the ability to make it through flight school, to experience so many different people around the world, so many different cultures around the world, helped me also. Because then when I came back stateside, I was able to leverage that to help me with McDonald's. What's fascinating, we had 3 gentlemen from St. Louis come to visit our squadron. And I told them I wanted to be like them. And we wrote a letter to the CEO of McDonald's. Mike Quinlan was the CEO of McDonald's. me sitting in the cockpit of a plane, and I asked Mike Quinlan for a shot. Went to Chicago, had an interview, McDonald's gave me a shot. And that's how I got the opportunity to become a franchisee with McDonald's. We bought our first location in Granite City, Illinois.
Here's what's interesting of the African American McDonald's franchisees that I know. It was always about profit, but moreover, it was about helping their community. I've not found one that just simply said, I wanted to be an owner. They wanted to assist. Was that part of your journey?
Oh, absolutely. My proudest moment of my business life was buying my hometown McDonald's. That's the store I worked in. That's the store where our family would come to eat on Friday evenings. Always, always very special. That community is so very important to me and so very important to my entire family. So you're right. There's something special about giving back, something special about being a part of the regeneration of urban areas. And I'm proud to be a part of that.
Give people a sense of what being an owner-operator is. I think when people think about McDonald's, they think about the arches and the corporation of McDonald's, but there's a unique position that owner-operators have. Give us a sense of what that is.
Absolutely. Let me describe what it means to be a franchisee. In many ways, I'm a part of this amazing brand, but I'm not a part of the corporation. I'm in business for myself, but not by myself. I actually buy into an operating system. I do. In many ways, a marketing system we buy into. That brand is very powerful and helps me a lot. But I'm an independent franchisee working day in and day out. So I hire, I fire, I train, and control all individuals who work with me day in and day out. That's my job. I'm the individual. The franchisees all across the country, we're extremely involved in our communities. Probably in every county across this union of ours, in every city, we have McDonald's, nearly 14,000. And we're involved intimately in our community. That's a part of our DNA.
Enjoyed part 1? Don't miss part 2 of this 3-part series as we explore the art of franchising and Jimmy's path to success.